why addiction controls you, and how to take back control. Let's be honest, addiction is not just about substances like alcohol or smoking. It can be anything: social media, gaming, junk food, porn, even procrastination. And the scary part? Most people don't even realize they're addicted. They think it's just a habit, but in reality, it's controlling their decisions. Addiction works on a simple scientific principle: dopamine. Every time you do something pleasurable, your brain releases dopamine, making you feel good. The more you repeat it, the more your brain craves it. Over time, your brain starts prioritizing that activity over everything else: your goals, your focus, even your self-control. But here's the key insight: addiction is not a character flaw. It's a pattern. And anything that is a pattern can be broken and replaced. You're not weak, your system is just misaligned. Once you understand how it works, you can start taking control back step by step. In this video, you'll learn exactly how to quit any addiction using practical, science-based methods. No motivation fluff, no unrealistic advice, just a clear system that actually works. Identify your trigger, root cause. Before you try to quit anything, you need to understand why you're doing it. Most people focus only on the addiction itself, but that's just the surface. The real problem is the trigger behind it. Every addiction follows a loop: trigger, right pointing arrow, action, right pointing arrow, reward. For example, you feel bored, trigger; you open social media, action, you get dopamine, reward. Or you feel stressed, and you escape into some addictive behavior. If you don't identify the trigger, you'll keep repeating the cycle. From a practical perspective, this means you need awareness. Start observing yourself. When do you feel the urge? Is it boredom, stress, loneliness, or habit? Once you identify the pattern, you can break it intelligently instead of fighting blindly. So don't just say, "I want to quit." Go deeper. Ask yourself, what is causing me to do this again and again? Because once you control the trigger, the addiction loses its power. Remove easy access, change your environment. Willpower alone is overrated. If your environment keeps pushing the addiction in front of you, you'll keep losing. So instead of relying only on discipline, change your environment to make the bad habit harder. Think about it practically. If junk food is always in your room, you'll eat it. If addictive apps are one tap away, you'll open them. Your brain always chooses the easiest option. So your job is to make the wrong option inconvenient. Delete or block apps. Keep your phone away during work. Remove triggers from your physical space. Add friction. Make it harder to access the addictive behavior. Even small barriers can reduce impulsive actions. This is not weakness, it's strategy. Smart people don't fight temptation every time. They design their environment so they face less temptation in the first place. Replace, don't just remove. Here's where most people fail. They try to remove the addiction but don't replace it. And your brain doesn't like empty space. If you take away a dopamine source without giving an alternative, your brain will push you back to the old habit. So the smarter approach is replacement. If you're quitting social media, replace it with reading or learning something useful. If you're quitting junk food, replace it with healthier options. The goal is not to eliminate dopamine, it's to redirect it. From a scientific perspective, your brain still needs reward. But instead of instant, low-value dopamine, you shift toward activities that give slower, more meaningful rewards, like exercise, skill building, or productive work. So don't fight your brain, work with it. Give it a better option. Because quitting becomes much easier when you're not leaving a void behind. Control dopamine, don't let it control you. To quit any addiction, you need to understand one core concept: dopamine management. Your brain is not addicted to the activity itself, it's addicted to the dopamine spike it gives. The more intense and frequent the spike, the more your brain craves it again and again. Now here's the problem: modern addictions like social media, gaming, or junk food give instant, high dopamine with very little effort. This rewires your brain to avoid anything that feels slow or difficult, like studying, working, or learning. Over time, your baseline motivation drops, and you feel lazy or distracted. So the solution is not just quitting, it's resetting your dopamine system. Reduce activities that give instant pleasure and start doing things that require effort but give long-term rewards. This includes exercise, deep work, reading, or skill building. At first, these will feel boring, but that's because your brain is privileged to high stimulation. As you stay consistent, your brain recalibrates. Simple things start feeling enjoyable again, and your control increases. This is how you break addiction at the root level, not by fighting urges, but by changing how your brain responds to reward. Use the 24-hour rule to break urges. One of the biggest mistakes people make while quitting addiction is trying to fight urges in the moment using pure willpower. That rarely works. When an urge hits, your brain is already in a high emotion, low control state. So instead of fighting it directly, you need a smarter strategy, the 24-hour rule. The rule is simple. When you feel the urge, don't say, "I'll never do this again." That feels overwhelming and unrealistic to your brain. Instead, tell yourself, "I can do it, but not today. I'll wait 24 hours." This reduces pressure and gives your mind a sense of control instead of restriction. From a psychological perspective, most urges are temporary. They rise, peak, and fall like a wave. If you delay action, the intensity decreases naturally. By the time those 24 hours pass, the craving is often weaker or gone completely. You're not suppressing it, you're letting it pass. Over time, this builds mental strength. You stop reacting instantly and start responding consciously. And that shift, from impulsive behavior to controlled action, is what actually breaks addiction patterns. Build discipline through small wins. Quitting addiction is not about one big decision, it's about small daily wins. Most people try to go from 0 to 100 overnight, and when they fail once, they give up completely. That's the wrong approach. Real change happens gradually. Start small and be realistic. If you're addicted to something you do for 5 hours daily, don't try to quit completely on day 1. Reduce it step by step, cut it down to 3 hours, then 2, then 1. This makes the process manageable and increases your chances of success. From a practical perspective, every small win builds confidence. When you successfully control yourself even a little, your brain starts believing, "I can do this." That belief is powerful. It shifts your identity from someone who is controlled by addiction to someone who is taking control. So focus on consistency, not perfection. Even if progress feels slow, it's still progress. Because in the long run, small controlled steps beat extreme actions that don't last. Track your progress and stay accountable. If you don't track your progress, your brain will trick you into thinking nothing is changing. That's why many people quit early. They don't see improvement, even when it's happening. So you need a system to make progress visible. Start by tracking your behavior daily. It can be simple. Mark a check mark on days you avoided the addiction or reduced it. You can use a notebook or your phone. The goal is to create awareness and consistency. When you see a streak building, your brain gets motivated to maintain it. From a psychological perspective, this builds accountability. You're no longer acting randomly, you're measuring your actions. And once something is measured, it becomes easier to control. You start noticing patterns, improvements, and even triggers more clearly. Also, consider sharing your goal with someone you trust or even holding yourself accountable publicly. Not for validation, but for commitment. Because when your actions are visible, even to yourself, you take them more seriously. Accept relapse but don't accept defeat. Let's be real, relapse can happen. You might slip, break your streak, or fall back into the habit for a moment. But here's the difference between people who succeed and those who fail: how they react after the relapse. Most people make a critical mistake. They think, "I failed, so it's over." And then they go all in on the addiction again. But logically, one mistake doesn't erase all your progress. That's like saying if you miss one workout, your entire fitness journey is ruined. It doesn't make sense. From a psychological perspective, guilt and shame actually push you deeper into addiction. They lower your self-control and make you seek comfort again, often through the same habit you're trying to quit. So instead of blaming yourself, analyze what went wrong. What was the trigger? What can you do differently next time? So remember this: Relapse is a part of the process, not the end of it. The goal is not perfection, it's progress and recovery speed. The faster you bounce back, the stronger you become. Take control, one decision at a time. At this point, one thing should be clear: addiction is not unbeatable. It's a pattern, and patterns can be broken with the right system, awareness, and consistency. You don't need extreme motivation or some magical solution. You need small, controlled actions repeated daily. The biggest shift you need to make is this: stop seeing yourself as someone who is addicted, and start seeing yourself as someone who is in control and improving. Identity matters. The moment you believe you can change, your actions start aligning with that belief. Remember, this is not a one-day process. It's a journey. Some days will be hard, some days will feel easy. But every time you choose control over impulse, you are rewiring your brain and getting stronger. That's real progress. So start today, one decision at a time, one urge resisted at a time. Because the more control you build, the more freedom you gain, and that's the ultimate goal.